Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Sophie Ort and I am the chairman. And what's your name? Haishing is the timekeeper. The adjudicator is Ms. Banfield. And the topic for tonight's debate is that Facebook should be unfriended. The affirmative team seated to my right is from St. Peter's Girls, and the negative team seated to my left is from St. John's Grammar. The speaking time for this debate is 8 minutes. A single warning bell will sound 1 minute before the speaking time, and a double bell will sound at the speaking time. A continuous bell may be rung 30 seconds after the speaking time, in which case the speaker must sit down immediately. Please ensure that your mobile phones and other electronic devices are switched off. I now declare this debate open and call upon the first affirmative speaker, Shunan Josiah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate tonight is that we should unfriend Facebook. We, as the affirmative team, strongly agree with this statement. We define unfriend as removing Facebook from our daily lives as a result of the negative impacts it has had on our society, and we assimilate it with the same action as removing a Facebook friend from your account. As first speaker, I will address the social implications that are associated with Facebook, such as the prevalent mental health impacts. Our second speaker will pose the legal issues that follow the usage of Facebook and the implications behind the app. Our third speaker will rebut any withstanding points and summarise our team's case. Parents are more concerned with their children's use of social media and technology than drugs, alcohol and smoking, with cyberbullying being their most related worry, new research has confirmed by The Guardian. Among these concerns, Facebook has been claimed as the worst social networking site for trolling and bullying, as 87% of teenagers who reported cyber abuse said they were targeted by Mark Zuckerberg's site, according to the Daily Mail. Youth mental health experts say inaction by Facebook has caused a national crisis. Maurice Blackburn, board member of the News Corp Australia, states, "Children can terrorise other children. People can set up accounts in your name or my name and then spew bile all over the internet. Send out neo-Nazi or anti-Muslim hate or content in support of ISIS and encourage people to be attacked, and now the sites have been notoriously slow to act or failed to act all over a number of years." Youth Mental Health Service Reach Out believes community safety is under threat due to the negligence of Facebook and others. Reach Out CEO John O'Nicholas said that social media platforms technology has made it too easy for bullies to harass. "It is a very real issue for every parent raising a teenager now," he declares. These results come from an Australia-wide survey of 890 parents with at least one child aged 12 to 18. Facebook has openly acknowledged that social media can be bad for users' mental health, a sign that the company is feeling pressure from a growing chorus of critics raising alarms about the platform's effect on society. Researchers for the social network admitted in a blog post that studies have found that spending time on Facebook passively consuming information can leave people feeling worse. The company's public recognition of some of its platform's detrimental effects came days after a former Facebook executive made headlines with a speech slamming the corporation, saying, "The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil closure, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth." The blog post came at the end of a year of intense scrutiny and bad press for the company. Facebook has repeatedly been accused of spreading Russian propaganda and fake news, providing a platform and network for white supremacists, enabling hate speech and offensive ads, and censoring critics of oppressive governments. Mark Zuckerberg has asked for forgiveness and claimed his new mission was to bring the world closer together. Facebook's former Vice President for User Growth, Charmit Pallitayar, recently said, We have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works and advise people to take a hard break from social media. His comments echoed those of Facebook founding president Sean Parker, who said social media provides a social validation feedback loop, which is exactly the thing a hacker like myself would come up with because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. He further continues to state that social media is a race to the bottom of the brainstem. Findings published in the journal Psychologist Reports Disability and Trauma showed that the brains of people who report compulsive urges to use Facebook show some brain patterns similar to those found in drug addicts or problem gamblers. They found that peer approval on social media releases dopamine in the brain. This is the same chemical that is released when you take drugs or when a gambling addict has a win at the pokies. It's a drug that feeds the ego of the self, the ego of me, explains consumer trend expert Michelle Newton to the Huffington Post. From breaking news to information about parenting, friends' activities, work and shopping, social media is a closed digital ecosystem of existence. The addictive nature of Facebook was admitted by Sean Parker, who stated that the construct of the application was all in the thought process of the social media companies intentionally exploiting people's psychological vulnerabilities. In one case, a 21-year-old boy from London, Simon Foxley, became interested in a girl after meeting her on the website. After declaring his romantic feelings for her, she unfriended him from her account. After numerous attempts to contact the girl and failing, Foxley began receiving various messages from her abusive friends reading "Go and Die." Foxley hanged himself in the garden of his home. He was found by his father and brother alongside a suicide note that stated, "Thank you for everything that you have done for me. I hope you can all make the most of your lives and cherish the people and the moments you share with them. I can't say sorry enough times for it to be the slightest bit good." Another incident involves the parents of a student who was crushed to death outside a nightclub and have criticised Facebook for letting an internet troll to abuse the memory of their daughter. The father of Olivia Burt, a 20-year-old from Durham University student who died in February, said, "Dealing with the social media company has compounded our misery." They spoke after Paul Hind, 38, appeared in court to admit posting offensive material about the student and 3 other dead young men and women. Using a false name, Hind called Burt a sex worker and defaced a picture of her while posting images of terminally ill children on her Facebook memorial page. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the significant social impact of Facebook outweighs any benefits and should definitely be unfriended. It has not only influenced and increased the rate of cyberbullying, but has detrimental impacts on the mental health of our society, as well as the development of the Facebook addiction and the contributing rise of suicide. Thank you.
Guest speaker Amy Cheney.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that we should unfriend Facebook. We, the negative team, believe this to be false. We agree with the opponent's definition, but we'd like to clarify that we means Facebook users, and that Facebook means the social media platform Facebook. Today, as first speaker, I'll be talking to you about how remaining friends with Facebook has a huge economic business for small businesses which globally employ millions of people, and how data collection is actually a benefit to society. Our second speaker will talk about how remaining friends with Facebook will have social benefits stemming from the organisation of advocacy campaigns for how Facebook is invaluable for strengthening our global communication. Our final speaker will rebut and sum up our team's case. But before I make my points, I'd like to rebut some of the first speaker's points. So, Facebook, despite its flaws, is still highly regulated. If people use hate speech, that is quickly picked up. And also, I'd like to say that children are going to flock to where their peers are on the internet. So if Facebook is unfriended, children are going to go to another website. It's ideal that the website that the children on is a large environment that can be easily regulated, similar to Facebook, other than a decentralized environment where it's hard to track down bullies and people. We know about these stories because they happened in a transparent environment. Also, social media has a large impact on our society, and removing it would require a complete rework of our internet infrastructure. As well, removing Facebook is not removing social media. And something else would fill in the gap for Facebook. You might have Twitter or another program. And as our second speaker will talk about, Twitter and these other programs doesn't live up to the standards of Facebook. I'd also like to say that one case is not necessarily indicative of the wider problem. Of course, the worst scenarios get media attention, but using these as proof as to why the site should go is subject to the cherry-picking fallacy. They also said that there is a rise in suicide, and I'd just like to clarify this is false. There is currently a reduction in suicide rates. Now, on to my first point, which is that we should remain friends with Facebook for the economic benefit that is resultant on Facebook's continued success. Now, Facebook, according to the corporation itself, has 2.23 billion users and counting, with each person on average spending 40 minutes a day on the platform. Thus, from a business perspective, Facebook is one of the largest, if not the largest marketplace to try to tap onto on the planet. This last decade has seen this potential being trapped, and the results are remarkable. According to Deloitte, one of the 4 big accountancy firms, Facebook generated $227 billion of wealth and 45 million jobs, excluding Facebook itself. This distinction is crucially important because it shows that Facebook is an invaluable platform to the people that use it as a means to put bread on the table. Additionally, the Deloitte assessment found Facebook encouraged internet adoption in developing countries, an outcome which is extremely beneficial in the new age as it allows for increased economic cooperation and globalization with the rest of the world, which leads to their economies growing and a subsequent reduction in poverty. Importantly, Facebook is aware of its important position, with the Facebook Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg stating that across the world there is a greater urgency about creating jobs. The good news is that Facebook is powering the economy and creating jobs within and beyond its own campuses. Every day, businesses of all sizes, sectors, and skill sets are using the Facebook platform to grow and expand. Facebook's positive impact primarily stems from directly linking businesses to consumers, creating demand for mobile and internet services that carry positive spillover effects for the economy and the creation of new technology-oriented jobs that didn't exist a decade ago. Crucially, no other media platform or existing media platform can fill in Facebook's role if we unfriend it. Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter do not have the business applicability or massive user base to fill in Facebook's shoes. Therefore, unfriending Facebook would be a wholly unproductive outcome that would destroy many livelihoods, not to mention wiping out Facebook's $650 billion valuation according to Forbes. Now, on to my second point. Not only has Facebook connected billions, provided a platform for marketing and business that was incomprehensible 18 years ago, it has given all its technological accomplishments away for free. Using a system of open sourcing, Facebook has developed some of the most sophisticated data collection tools, databases, server hardware, and software development tools of the modern world. This open sourcing allows anyone to access their research and programs for free. Their app programs Xseed Tool for iOS and Buck for Android have led to countless small startups and given small businesses the ability to develop their own apps. These programs have led to the creation of countless applications and are still being used by developers today. In 2008, Facebook founded the Open Compute Project, which is a collaborative community focused on redesigning hardware technology to efficiently support the growing demand on computing infrastructure. According to their site, the Open Compute Project Foundation is a rapidly growing global community whose mission is to design, use, and enable mainstream delivery of the most efficient designs for scalable computing. This project is still operating today and will only continue in conjunction with the continuation of Facebook. The continuation of this project will see the development of countless new software and hardware, all thanks to Facebook's continued success. If we unfriend Facebook, we will lose this great project. However, their greatest success is Cassandra. Facebook's database, Cassandra, is a NoSQL database, meaning that it runs on low-cost computer servers and can store numerous data types. This database revolutionized the ability for companies to share, sell, and stream over the internet. Two companies that use Cassandra are Netflix and eBay. These technological leaps were facilitated by Facebook. Their open sourcing gives countless individuals the ability to access and facilitate the growth of the internet. To unfriend Facebook is not only to disregard these great accomplishments, but also to forestall the future development of the internet. In conclusion, we should remain friends with Facebook. Its economic potential for businesses is large and small, is unparalleled. It has been a leading developer of the internet and has given everyone the tools to be part of this development. Ladies and gentlemen, to unfriend Facebook would be a complete detriment of business, the internet, and our society. Thank you.
The affirmative speaker, Izzy Tan.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight the negative team have tried to convince you that we should not unfriend Facebook. However, we as the affirmative team believe that this statement is in fact false. And so before I continue on to argue my team's case, I would like to point out some of the flaws in the negative team's arguments presented to you tonight. The first speaker has tried to tell you that Facebook does not increase suicide and in fact have been minimized. However, this is false as he did not state where he collected that information, and as our first speaker has already stated, that information was obtained from the Huffington Post, a reliable and authorized website, and therefore this is a fallacy of burden of proof, as the opposition have failed to provide evidence to support their argument. And in addition, I'll be speaking further about this in my speech. Today, as second speaker of the affirmative team, I will be discussing with you the obvious violation of privacy that Facebook have over your devices, the poor management of those settings, and the negative repercussions and fakeness behind the content shown on this application. In mid-March, news broke that Cambridge Analytica, a London-based data mining firm with ties to US President Donald Trump, listed the Facebook profiles of tens of millions of users without their permission in an attempt to sway the election. A former Cambridge Analytica employee, Christopher Wiley, said the firm got Facebook information through an app in order to build psychological profiles on a large portion of the US electorate. That app vacuumed up information from users who gave the app permission to access their accounts, as well as additional data from their Facebook friends. This invasion of privacy via Facebook is completely absurd and in all attempts to win an election. Facebook has faced repeated attacks from European regulators, particularly those in Germany, over issues ranging from perceived anti-competitive practices to alleged misuse of customer data. Since March 2016, the company has been investigated by the German Federal Cartel Office over allegations that it breaches data protection law. In an interim update in December last year, the office said that it objected to the way Facebook gains access to third-party data when an account is opened. This includes transferring information from its own WhatsApp and Instagram products, as well as how it tracks which sites its users access. This is further emphasized by Sonia Ryan, founder of the Carly Ryan Foundation, who gives seminars all over Australia to high school students on e-safety. Earlier this year, she spoke to over 100 students on social media usage and the implications they pose to users. In particular, she spoke of how Facebook has access to all your information and data stored in apps, including notes, your photos, and even your emails. This is obviously prevalent when scrolling through your Facebook feed, only to see those pair of Nike shoes that you could have been looking at a couple days ago pop up as an advertisement on your Facebook page. These ads are specifically targeting you based on your recent search history and interest by having access to your personal information. Facebook's default privacy settings and use of personal data are against German consumer law, according to a judgment by a Berlin court. They found that Facebook collects and uses personal data without providing members' consent, and also argued that Facebook opted users into features which it should not have. For example, in the Facebook app for smartphones, a location service was pre-activated that reveals a user's location to people, show the location of where people who they are chatting to. In the privacy settings, ticks were already placed in the boxes that allowed search engines to link to the user's timeline. This meant that anyone could quickly and easily find those people's Facebook profiles. The court also ruled 8 clauses in Facebook's terms of service to be invalid, including terms that allow Facebook to transmit data to the US and use personal data for commercial purposes. In addition, the company's authentic name policy, a revision of a rule that once required users to use their real names on the site, but which now allows them to use any names they are widely known by, was also ruled unlawful. Now, to continue further my next point, Facebook has constantly been the provider of both inappropriate content and spreading false and hateful news on the platform. In June of 2016, Antonio Perkins unintentionally broadcast his own death to the world via Facebook Live. The video showed him 6 minutes into the live stream, gunshots ringing and the camera falls. He was later that day pronounced dead, but even more shockingly, the video had more than 1 million views. To name even more people, Jared McLemore, 33, died from severe burn after torching himself outside a packed bar in Memphis, Tennessee, while live on Facebook. James Jeffrey from Robertsdale, Alabama, was in the middle of broadcasting when he pulled out a gun and shot himself in the head. Wutterson Wongtale, 20, accused partner Jurenuich Trurat, 21, of cheating before hanging their 11-month-old child Beta in Phuket, Thailand, with the horrific video remaining on his page for nearly 24 hours. And the list continues of this horrific and supposedly innovative way of communicating with your loved ones. Furthermore, according to Craig Silverman, a Canadian journalist and media editor, conducted an analysis for BuzzFeed that showed the 20 highest performing fake news stories of the 2016 election campaign did better on Facebook than the 20 highest performing real ones. Rumors, misinformation, and bad reporting can do and exist in any medium. But Facebook has created a medium that is optimized for fakeness, not as an algorithmic quirk, but due to the core conception of this platform. Moreover, human rights groups and researchers have been warning Facebook that its platform is being used to spread misinformation and promote hatred of, in particular, the Rohingya people since 2013. Although it may seem like such a trivial thing to be upset over hate speech, as it is all over social media, doesn't live up to the crisis that involves the Rohingya people right now. To provide some context, the Rohingya people are a group of Tibetan, Burman, and Indo-Aryan mixed people who are residing in the Rakhine state of Myanmar. Since late August 2017, more than 671,000 Rohingya Muslims have fled Rakhine state to escape the Myanmar military's ethnic cleansing. The atrocities committed by Myanmar security forces include mass killings, sexual violence, and widespread arson. An Australian journalist and researcher, Ayla Cullen, warned Facebook about the spread of anti-Rohingya posts on the platform in November 2013. She met with the company's most senior communications and policy executive, Elliot Sarge, who referred her to staff at Internet.org and a couple of Facebook employees who dealt with civil society groups. She comments that he didn't connect me to anyone inside Facebook who could deal with the actual problem, she told Reuters. These revelations come to light as Facebook is struggling to respond to criticism over the leaking of users' private data and concern about the spread of fake news and hate speech on the platform. Therefore, if Facebook is struggling so hard to keep themselves in check, surely it's not a good idea to continue to be friends with them. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, why should we continue to be friends with Facebook if all they are providing us are the qualities of a toxic friendship? Clearly, we don't want them to be snooping around in our private lives, exposing us to risk, and blatantly feeding us fake gossip and horrific content. Obviously, we don't need that in our lives, so shouldn't we unfriend Facebook? Thank you.
Negative speaker, Oliver Douglas.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that we should unfriend Facebook. We, the negative team, believe this to be false. Now, our first speaker has already told you that remaining friends with Facebook is beneficial for thousands of businesses and millions of employees who have a job because of Facebook. He has also told you how Facebook has created many landmark technologies which it has given away for free, and how it can only continue to do so if we remain friends with Facebook. But before I move on to my own points, I'd like to rebut some of the second speaker's points. First, their point about stating that we hadn't provided evidence for the decline in suicide, that is correct. I'd like to clarify that according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, suicide in Australia has been declining steadily since the 1990s. Now, on to her first point. While yes, Facebook might be invading people's privacy, according to the US and Australian Constitution and their legislative laws, people have no right to privacy. What Facebook was infringing upon was the protection of the data they had taken. There was no wrongdoing in Facebook in taking that data. Now, she then went on to say that Facebook was breaking German consumer law. While it might be breaking German consumer law, the other countries of which Facebook is a member in, it wasn't breaking any laws. And Facebook is in almost every country on Earth. And then to do with the settings of Facebook, well, as a user of Facebook, you sign up to their privacy, and it's on your responsibility to decide the privacy and security for your account. And then next, you cannot provide, because people post bad stuff on Facebook, it's not a negative reflection on Facebook itself. In June last year, someone uploaded a video to the internet of them killing themselves with homemade mustard gas. The fact that Facebook actively tries to prevent this is actually a positive on Facebook's part. Other platforms do much worse. And then additionally, to try and prevent these types of horrible acts and stop them all from occurring, Facebook would have to actually invade people's privacy more, because to try and actively prevent these events from happening, you have to know everything about that person and have to have complete and utter access to their account. So it's counterintuitive, that argument. Now, I would like to expand on why we should remain Facebook by first explaining how it is an invaluable event organisation tool for both ordinary people and for social campaigns and protests. Second, I would like to explain how Facebook is excellent for bringing communities together by strengthening global communication. So, my first point is that we should remain friends with Facebook so we can enjoy the benefits of Facebook's event organisation. For those of you who may be unaware, Facebook has a feature that allows for the creation of events, which allow the event organiser to invite people, set a location, post updates, and categorise the event so interested people can find it. Importantly, this feature is unique to Facebook, with none of the other big social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat offering a comparable feature. On a small scale, this event feature allows for groups of friends to conveniently organise catch-ups or parties, something extremely hard to do with far-flung friends even 20 years ago. On a larger scale, bands and entertainers can organise events via Facebook, allowing them to get straight to their fans, whilst cutting out the middleman through Facebook's inbuilt ticketing feature. However, Facebook's event feature makes its biggest impact when people use it to try and bring about social change. After the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in February 14, 2018, the teenagers of that school employed Facebook to try and bring about gun reform in the United States. Through using Facebook's event feature, they were able to organise marches in 78 US cities, with turnout totaling almost 2 million across the United States, according to CNN. There are several important things to note about Facebook's role in these marches. First, Facebook's usage by over 214 million Americans, according to a Pew Research Center study in 2018, meant the Stoneman Douglas teenagers were able to hit a wider audience than if they'd used traditional media like TV or other social media sites, which Pew Research Center states have no more than 35% of the US population using them. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, Facebook's event feature means eventually there will be boots on the ground, as they say, something that does not occur with other social media platforms as people idly tweet, snap, or post. Facebook is unique. As mentioned earlier, it has 2.23 billion users and counting, meaning it can be increasingly used as a tool on a small scale to bring friends together and on a larger scale to affect social change. This is why we should remain friends with Facebook, because no other social media platform can fulfill this crucial role that it serves. My second point is that in addition to being a pivotal group organisation tool, Facebook brings societies closer together through strengthened communication. The most obvious benefit is being able to stay in touch with your friends, something that used to be much more difficult 50 years ago when letter writing was still prevalent, or even 20 years ago if you lost a friend's phone number. Now, with Facebook being used, as I said earlier, by 2.23 billion people, this ability to connect with friends is extremely easy and is getting even easier. As according to Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook is expanding into emerging markets in Asia, India, and Africa. So humans can, for the first time in history, be truly connected. Now, this is a historic moment, as other social media platforms do not have the financial capital, means, or popularity to achieve what Facebook can. Now, you might be wondering, so what? I can connect with friends via Facebook. How is that a positive? Well, there are two key benefits to consider. Firstly, it helps to reduce class divisions between members of society. Kevin Patrick, an attorney of Law LLC, says, attorneys are often seen as distant and a bit aloof from the general public, but Facebook has been a great way of making personal connections, and it has helped create a level of trust. This is because Facebook humanizes people through the sharing of people's lives on the platform, bringing down the illusory ivory tower that separates people. Other social media platforms either have too few users or to make a meaningful impact in resolving this issue, or like Instagram, raise people up into an ivory tower, creating division. Secondly, people with common passions and interests can find other like-minded individuals. Journalist Dave Parrott states that by listing what you are interested in right from the start on Facebook, it is much easier to find common ground with other users. This ability to connect with like-minded individuals has a positive mental aspect for many people, with psychologist Angela Barnes finding it helps people feel comfortable, relaxed, and take life easy. This is evidenced by the Melanoma Patients Association of Australia, a support group which has 850 members in a closed Facebook group. This excellent example of people connecting on Facebook to help each other shows what cannot be achieved on other platforms like Snapchat, where there's no older user base, or Instagram, where there's no group communication feature. To unfriend Facebook would be disastrous, with no other social media platform enjoying either the same enormous user base or user base spread relatively equally across generations, according to a 2018 Pew Research Center study. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we should remain friends with Facebook because its event organisation tool is useful for either easily organising catch-ups and parties with friends or organising mass demonstrations. And the social benefit it provides through bringing people together is truly unique. And no other social media platform or existing media platform can step in. Facebook is indispensable and we should not unfriend it. Thank you.
I now call upon the third affirmative speaker, Asher Short.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that we should unfriend Facebook, and we, being the affirmative team, strongly concur with this statement. Before I proceed to summarise my team's arguments, I'd like to point out a few evident flaws in the opposition's case. The first speaker began by discussing the benefits Facebook provides for businesses. Now, the premise behind using Facebook as a means to advertise seems great theoretically. However, there are so many more factors to consider than just creating a page and posting your products. To begin with, creating a business manager page in the first place is a lengthy and cumbersome process, a fact that impacts different businesses differently depending on their size and status. Running the page itself requires a time investment. If you're looking to advertise your business well, it's imperative to have a staff member solely dedicated to running the page, which requires training to ensure that they have the right skills. They should be able to plan and create content, effectively represent your business, and respond to inquiries and complaints, that of which can all too easily be posted on your page for the whole world to see. In considering all of this, it's also necessary to consider the cost versus benefit when you're looking at Facebook being an effective tool in advertising your business. There are now numerous businesses that note how expensive it's become to advertise on a platform that has openly admitted it hasn't always charged the correct amount for ads, according to online trade magazine DigiDay. Combine that with lower expected return on investment from pricey inventory like videos, and some of these companies are starting to question why Facebook dominates so much of their media plans. John Broughton, a consultant and former head of performance marketing, states that a lot of what is done on Facebook is about branding and engagements, rather than trying to sell the products straight off the page as they are. The problem with that is that there are very few studies that show that effective spend, because the kind of brands that are spending big on Facebook are spending even bigger on TV. So it's hard to show the differential between the channels. Now spend on platforms like Facebook is simply too big to ignore. Adidas is just one business re-evaluating their connection with Facebook taking up over 40% of their media plan. Adidas has already stopped buying video ads on Facebook and has not ruled out other cuts, another executive stated, whom Adidas briefed on the matter. Advertising on Facebook isn't getting any cheaper. In the first quarter of the year, the average price per ad on Facebook increased by 49%, according to Facebook's latest results. If people share less data with Facebook, and the social network limits what personal data it shares with advertisers, targeting will only be harder and more expensive. The second speaker then went on to talk about how communication is easy. However, with this arises two the negative aspects concerned with easy communication. We seem to marvel at the prospect of being able to connect and communicate with anyone and everyone, and yet fail to recognize that this all too easily works the other way around. Facebook essentially provides a platform for strangers to gain access to the lives of other people. This becomes a concern when you take into account the number of online predators who are just handed a world of opportunities to target vulnerable and naive individuals. This is indirect communication. We can't see the true person behind the screen, so it can really be a game of chance when you're talking to someone new, and no one wants to put their safety in chance. Even so, Facebook has introduced the feature of message requests, where complete strangers can contact you on Facebook Messenger and still appear in your normal Messenger inbox as opposed to the other inbox. Through this, it has become even easier for strangers to make contact with other people, with, in the words of David Marcus, head of Facebook's Messenger unit, the only thing you need to talk to virtually anyone in the world being their name. To put it all in retrospect, this easy communication can have detrimental impact on people's lives that far outweigh the chance to make a behind-the-screen friend. The first speaker also said that removing Facebook does not remove other forms of social media. However, this is irrelevant to this debate. Our team has already discussed the statistics to show the negative implications connected with cyberbullying and suicide in Facebook, and these are unavoidable objective facts, and ultimately, removing some of the origins of hate and negativity is better than not doing anything at all. If even one life was saved through removing Facebook, then the cause was most definitely worth it. The first speaker also stated that Instagram and Snapchat have no benefits for business. However, this is not true. Instagram has developed easy ways to advertise business. Pages can be created with descriptions in their bio, allowing for them to collaborate with other businesses. This includes, too, the opportunity for businesses to advocate their products through influential social media members and celebrities. Even Snapchat has introduced advertisements in their app to promote products for businesses. Facebook is not the only way for businesses to be created. The second speaker then stated that Australia has had a decrease in suicide rates. However, you can have a decrease in overall suicide rates while still having a rise in suicide connected to social media and Facebook. Additionally, Facebook is a global company, and so the statistics based on Australia cannot be representative of the whole world. Tonight, our team has addressed the social and legal factors that contribute to the negative connotations associated with Facebook, and why these are reason to believe why we shouldn't be using the social media platform. To begin with, our first speaker, Shunem, explored the social impediments correlated with Facebook usage. Among this particularly involves the negative impacts on our mental health as a society. Facebook gives bullies a basis to terrorize people, with the ability to communicate freely at the expense of other individuals. If even one life is compromised as a result of this website, it makes a statement that something needs to change. We can't ignore these statistics or pretend they don't relate to us until they directly affect us. Our second speaker, Izzy, then went on to explore Facebook's clear violation of privacy and the controversy surrounding the blatant and unfair invasion of people's private lives, particularly involving Cambridge Analytica. This was then connected to Facebook's advertisement of fake news and the impact it has on its users. So, in conclusion, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we can't ignore our values and priorities. The safety and well-being of our society should be the utmost concern, superseding any other entertainment or social benefits that can be derived from Facebook, which is why we as the affirmative team believe that we should unfriend Facebook. Thank you.
I now call upon the third negative speaker, Robert Van Gogh.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's debate. As I'm sure you already know, the topic for tonight's debate is that we should unfriend Facebook. We, the negative team, strongly believe this statement to be false. As third speaker, I'm going to rebut and sum up our team's case. First, onto my rebuttal. Now, the first affirmative speaker has tried to tell you has talked about Facebook and cyberbullying. Now, it's important to address this, as this is a fact. However, it is also a fact that cyberbullying is not just an aspect of Facebook, but an aspect of social media as a whole. And as the third speaker tried to say, the third speaker tried to tell us that while we are discussing Facebook specifically, other social media are not important, as our second speaker tried to address Instagram and Snapchat as other forms of social media. However, other forms of social media are directly relevant to this debate, as without Facebook, what are we going to turn to? As our second speaker pointed out, social media is currently heavily integrated into our lives. In fact, 90% of sites that you go onto, you will find an option to share it to Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, any number of other sites. This level of integration of social media is not going away anytime soon. So it is ridiculous to present that by getting rid of Facebook, we are simply solving problems, whereas there are other social media giants that will attempt to take its place. Next, they talked about fake accounts and how easy it is to make fake accounts. Now, it's key to know that Facebook does actively work to get rid of fake accounts. They also talked about how you are now apparently able to make fake names. Now, this is completely wrong. If you make a fake account or a fake name on Facebook, and Facebook suspects that your name is false, they will send you messages and request specific identification, such as passports, driver's licenses, etc., to prove that this is in fact your birth name, or your current name. The first speaker has also talked specifically, and I quote, social media, platforms, and technology. Now, they have repeatedly talked about social media, not Facebook specifically. This directly contradicts what their third speaker has tried to say about how other social media companies are not relevant to this debate, whereas they have already mentioned them, which is a bit counterintuitive if you ask me. Nothing there. Now, they have also tried to discuss how Facebook enables hate speech. Well, Facebook actually does the opposite. Facebook has algorithms in place and people who scan Facebook after these algorithms have detected potential hate speech. Now, obviously, as our second speaker has pointed out, you can't directly counter all examples of hate speech, such as the Rohingya people, such as they've talked about, without completely forgoing complete privacy and any aspect of privacy on Facebook. Now, Facebook tries to keep your privacy in check, but for security reasons, they do take some of your data and use that to try and secure privacy, such as scanning images for such things such as nudity, gore or violence, and then they remove these images promptly, or as promptly as they can. An example of this is the opposition has talked about using third-party data to scan your browser history. Now, Facebook only does this for security reasons, and in a declarement last year presented how this data, while being taken, is actually removed within 90 days of being taken, and is only used for detection of bots and potential scammers. So people attempting to access your account, let's say from America while you're in Australia, they'll be able to see through their browser history that they are in fact in America, and thus, unless you've travelled to America within 24 hours, which they send you an email, which I'm sure you've all gotten at least once, then you will, they block them from the account. I see this as a positive, and I'm sure most people do, as they respect their own security on Facebook. Now, the first speakers also talked about how Facebook is bad for your mental health. They've talked about how you need a hard break from social media, and a dopamine feedback loop has been created on social media. Both times they've referred to social media, not Facebook in particular, which I'd like to point out. Moving on from this, we need to accept that all aspects of the modern world are, in at least one point, addictive. Junk food, television, video games, everything is addictive because companies want you coming back, they want money, money, money. Now, Facebook is of course guilty of this, but everything is guilty of this. In a modern society, we need to grow and adapt and educate ourselves to deal with this addiction, because addiction is something we as a society can overcome and need to learn to deal with. It is not inherent to Facebook. As I've already discussed, social media is here to stay. All aspects of the modern world, we need to learn to deal with it because we have no capacity to remove it. One final note on bad mental health, my bad. There is actually contradictory research saying that Facebook is in fact good for your mental health. According to Robin L. Nabi, a researcher in cyberpsychology, a survey of 401 undergraduate Facebook users revealed that, as predicted, the number of Facebooker friends associated with stronger perceptions of social support, which in turn associated with reduced stress and in turn less physical illness and a greater well-being. Now, the second speaker has talked about the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Now, what they neglected to talk about was the actions of a third party, which in turn allowed the entire scandal to take place, which in fact nullifies their argument. Now, the problem is that Facebook didn't actually do anything wrong in this context. What happened was there was a third party named Alexander Kogan who was granted research agreements through Facebook to use data with willing survey recipients. Now, these recipients were given the option of taking part in his survey, which would allow them to use their data. Kogan created an app called This Is Your Digital Life, which was then able to access Facebook's algorithms without preeminently telling Facebook about this. So going against Facebook and going behind Facebook's back, they went through the algorithms and stole all this data without Facebook's knowledge. Then they sold this data to Cambridge Analytica behind Facebook's back. Facebook then denounced the entire process and has refused to advertise for Cambridge Analytica on any of their sites, which, as our first speaker pointed out, is a lot of money they have lost and advertising capability, which I'm going to come back to later as well. Now, we also need to discuss the access to information by Facebook. As our second speaker did talk about, you do agree to give Facebook its information. Oh, wait, that was quick. Alright, we're going to cut a couple of things in that case. Basically, we can't say that you need to unfriend Facebook because the fact is you signed up for it. You've given them your data, that was your decision. And they have given you every capacity and every step along the way to agree or disagree with it. The third speaker has discussed how running a page is time-consuming. All aspects of advertisement are time-consuming. That's why you hire people to do it. Facebook is dominates as it is the biggest. No other companies can even compare, as our second speaker stated. Small businesses, such as, for example, Banana Boogie Bakery in Blackwood Hills, uses Facebook to promote all their different things, such as their award-winning vanilla slice. Check it out; it's a good vanilla slice. Skip. They have talked about. All right. You know what? Let's just cut right to the end because this didn't work at all. Ladies and gentlemen, Facebook is a global marketplace, a place for support for people suffering, a place for entertainment, news and research. Facebook has and continues to facilitate the growth of the internet by everyone, for everyone. Facebook can improve our mental health, bridge the class divide, and pave the way to a brighter future. Facebook is indispensable, and we should not unfriend it.